On the news tonight, federal government roll out timetable for 62nd independence anniversary. Nigerians task political parties on internal democracy. Tambuwal replaces Fayemi as chairman Nigerian Governors Forum. Iran restricts internet access. Good evening and welcome to the major report. I am Kayode Adebayo. The federal government has released its timetable for the celebration of the 62nd independence anniversary of Nigeria. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, released this during a short press conference in Abuja. He said the press conference kickstarts the programs lined up to commemorate the 62nd independence anniversary. The minister railed out other activities for the anniversary, saying there will be a church service on Sunday, September 25th at the National Christian Center, Central Business District, Abuja. It will be followed by a public lecture focused on national unity on Thursday, September 29th at the State House Conference Hall in Abuja, while on Friday, September 30th, there will be a special Jumat prayer at the National Mosque, Central Business District, also in Abuja, and on Saturday, October 1st, 2022, there will be a presidential broadcast at 7 o'clock in the morning, and later in the day, there will be a military parade at Eagle Square, Central Business District, also in Abuja. The minister said that the award of national honors will be held as part of the 62nd independence anniversary on October 1st in Abuja. Nigerians have reacted to the final list of the candidates contesting the 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections. Those that spoke in separate interviews with OSBC News against the backdrop of the names of some prominent politicians missing from the list urged political parties in Nigeria to embrace internal democracy. Our reporter, Oluchi Amuda, completes the report.
Elections are fast approaching, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the body statutorily empowered to see to the smooth conduct of the polls, recently released the final list of candidates contesting the presidential and National Assembly elections, pursuant to Section 32, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. According to the Commission, 18 political parties fielded presidential candidates and their running mates, while for legislative elections, 1,101 candidates are vying for 109 senatorial seats and 3,122 candidates for federal constituencies, also known as House of Representatives. It was, however, observed that the name of the Senate President Ahmad Lawan and his contender Bashir Machina were missing from the list. In another development, the name of the expelled presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Dumebi Kachuku, appeared on the list. Reacting to this development, Secretary of the All Progressive Congress APC in Osun State, Mr. Kamaruddin Alao, expressed satisfaction with the entire process.
The list released by INEC for Osun, that's the list the party submitted, though there are some omission or what I call missing of some names of the candidates. And I know that INEC will go ahead to rectify that so that all political parties who fit candidates, we know that all their candidates are fitted for this election.
Speaking in the same vein, the Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the state, Mr. Oladele Oluwabamiji, stated that the steps taken so far by INEC is in accordance with the electoral law.
As far as we are concerned in Osun State, we are satisfied. Our candidate's name, as published, are the names of those elected at the primaries conducted by a party in the state.
In his views about the name missing from the published list, a politician, Honorable Akintola Omolaoye, urged political parties to learn how to improve on internal democracy so as to curb the crisis that often accompanies the selection of candidates for political positions.
The bulk of the blame should directly be passed to the political parties. In the first instance, who was to have submitted appropriately, approved, agreed, and the certified list of contestants from those political parties.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, said the final list of candidates for the State House of Assembly and that of governorship positions will be published on the 4th of next month. has already indicated on the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general elections. Oluchi Amuda, OSBC News.
The All Progressives Congress Osun State Chapter has released the names of its chairmanship candidates for the forthcoming local government election in the state. The names are contained in a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the Governor on Political Matters, Oluomosunday Akere, on behalf of the State Party Chairman, Prince Gboyega Famodun. According to the release, the final list was a product of APC primary election and primary election appeal committee reports. The statement asked all the successful candidates to immediately collect their nomination forms from the APC situation room. The Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal has replaced his Ekiti State counterpart Kayode Fayemi as the chairman Nigerian Governors Forum. Governor Tambuwal assumed the position today at the National Economic Council meeting in Ashoro Fela, Abuja, after Governor Fayemi transferred the baton of office to him. The Director of Media and Public Affairs of NGF, Abdulrasaq Bello Bakindo, confirmed the change of party in the statement. According to the statement, Tambuwal will be holding the fort until May next year, when a proper election is conducted among the governors before his new role. Tambuwal served as vice chairman of the forum under Fayemi in the last 4 years. Reports say Fayemi was recently elected as the president of the Forum of Regional and State Governments in Saidia, in the state of Casablanca in Morocco. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on African countries and their Arab partners to work hard and be more united to realize common objectives. According to a statement by the president's spokesman, Mr. Femi Adesina, the president made the call at a bilateral meeting with the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, in New York, United States. President Buhari said the actualization of the United Nations resolution, which proposed a two-state solution to the crisis between Israel and Palestine, required a platform to think creatively about how to engage the rest of the world on the matter. He further said that the rest of the world needs to be appraised of the current state of things between Palestine and Israel in order to commit to the way forward. The Palestinian president had visited his Nigerian counterpart to thank him for being a consistent supporter of the Palestinian cause. The governments of Nigeria, Spain, the United States, the African Union, the European Union, Colombia, Germany, and Indonesia have agreed to save hundreds of millions of people around the world threatened by global food security. The leader said the food insecurity challenge has been compounded by the pandemic, growing pressures from the climate crisis, high energy and fertilizer prices, and protracted conflicts. The leaders made the declaration after a meeting in New York. They added that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has disrupted production and supply chains and increased global food insecurity for the most vulnerable. Also, they said the world can only overcome food insecurity by working together to create innovative partnerships, including international financial institutions, United Nations, regional and sub-regional organizations, and civil society organizations alongside key stakeholders within the global community. Reactions have continued to treat the call for debt forgiveness for Nigeria and other African countries by President Muhammadu Buhari at the 77th United Nations General Assembly in New York. While some Nigerians expressed optimism that the president's plea will be granted by world leaders, some believed that the federal government needs to put more efforts in investing in the loans into the right infrastructural projects. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga has the details.
Reactions have been trailing President Muhammadu Buhari's call for debt cancellation for developing countries facing severe fiscal and liquidity challenges at the 77th United Nations General Assembly in New York. According to the president, the challenges facing most developing countries had placed a debilitating chokehold on their fiscal pace, justifying the need to address the burden of unsustainable external debt by a global commitment to expansion and extension of the debt service suspension initiative, as well as outright cancellation. According to the Debt Management Office in Nigeria, in nearly 8 years, Nigeria's debt profile has risen to 42 trillion naira, Speaking on this development, Mr. Tajuddin Aremu, a public affairs analyst who keyed into President Muhammadu Buhari's call for debt cancellation, noted that if Nigeria is given a debt pardon, the funds used in debt servicing will be pumped into the nation's economy, which would have a positive impact on the Nigerian economy. He called for the support of world leaders in order to grant Nigeria and other African countries facing fiscal and liquidity challenges a debt cancellation.
There's going to be improvement in our economy because the interest that we are using to service these debts will be used to do other things. And I feel it's going to be a good and welcome development if we are able to achieve debt pardon from the financial powers of the world.
In his submission, another public affairs analyst, Dr. David Ogunshade, who partially supported the president's plea, alleged that the Nigerian government is not spending the borrowed funds into the right thing, adding that borrowing more funds at all times is not a good omen for Nigeria as a nation. He enjoined the federal government to always make judicious use of borrowed funds on appropriate infrastructural projects, which would help boost the nation's economy.
We must have learned our lesson that to be borrowing money all the time is not the best interest of this country and the ordinary people of Nigeria, because now we cannot improve our infrastructure or even put money in agriculture or even education. Look at our students on strike for the last 6 or 7 months. So because of lack of money. So we must learn to spend our money judiciously, whatever we see, and then live within our means and avoid wastage and corruption. So because if we are not able to do this thing, then we'll be making ourselves a laughingstock in the international community. So which I think is a shame on Nigeria after 60 years of independence.
He urged the federal government to invest more on education, health, and also strengthen the manufacturing sector through the provision of basic amenities such as uninterrupted power supply, good road network, and the provision of adequate security, which would attract foreign investors. Oluwa Tobiloba Odunuga reporting for OSBC News.
The federal government says it will continue to negotiate with the Academic Staff Union of Universities in spite of the court rulings restraining the union from continuing with its 7-month strike. The National Industrial Court of Nigeria in Abuja ordered the striking lecturers to return to the classroom following a suit filed by the federal government. Minister of Labour and Employment Dr. Chris Ngige made the federal government's position known when he hosted visiting members of Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Academics. According to him, the court ruling does not preclude the government from going on with further negotiation and consultations. ASU began its strike to demand that the federal government revisit some agreements signed between them in 2009 and also to improve on varsity funding and payment of earned allowances. The lecturers also want the federal government to shape its integrated payroll and personal information system in paying lecturers' salaries. A legal practitioner, Mr. Tiamiyu Adegboyega, has urged the Academic Staff Union of Universities to obey the decision of the court and order its members back to the lecture rooms. Mr. Adegboyega, who stated this in an interview with OSBC News, maintained that in as much as the union has the right of appeal, it is imperative to stick to the decision of the court. He speaks further.
Having submitted the agitation to the court of law, they still have a right to respect the decision of the court. Even if that decision is made erroneously, ASU must of necessity obey that decision of the court first and foremost before pushing anything forward. As it is, they have the right of appeal. They can appeal the decision of the industrial court that says they should go back. But in so far that appeal has not been laid as a body of intellectuals, the decision of the court is imperative for them to obey. See them as intellectual because that is going to be the argument. Supposedly, that is going to be the argument. And I'm very sure the counsel leading the case of ASU will, advise them properly to obey the decision of the court.
The International Human Rights Commission has asked the federal government to initiate talks with separatist groups and other agitators towards ending the spate of violence and other crimes across the country. IHRC's head of diplomatic missions in Nigeria, Dr. Ezekiah Duru, also said at a press conference held in Abuja to mark the 2022 World Peace Day that the unabated security challenges in the country were linked to poverty and economic hardships. He asked the federal government to dialogue with the indigenous people of Biafra, the Yoruba Nation agitators, and other non-state actors with a view to uncovering the sociological issues at the roots of their restiveness. According to him, the platform is an avenue that will enable them to dialogue with the government, adding that there is need to understand why people are carrying arms. He added that the organization will be signing a memorandum of understanding with the Conference of Nigerian Political Parties to ensure that the 2023 elections is conducted in a peaceful environment. Major report continues after this break. Stay tuned.
báwo la ti fẹ́ sanwó ni. farabalẹ̀. 1,000. Go wash plate tire o. Farabalẹ̀ now.
Madam, èló lówó wa?
Brother, na 3,005.
Màá fún yín ní owó pé káàdì Glo ẹlẹ́gbẹ̀rún 10,000.
Ó yá.
Bring your phone.
Ah, 10,000.
These Glo people na wow. 1,000 naira credit. 9 years turn to 10,000.
No. All of us don't know about Glo Berekete. Ní ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá nísìnyí.
Ṣé o ti gbọ́? Ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá ló máa gbà lórí iyekíye tó o bá rà sórí ohun ìpè Glo Berekete 10 times rẹ.
I told you. Now what go tell?
Sincere apology for that mix-up. You are now welcome to our sports segment. Floyd Mayweather has said that he will fight Conor McGregor again next year. The undefeated retired boxer who fought MMA star McGregor 5 years ago in a boxing showdown was discussing his next move ahead of the weekend's exhibition bout with Japanese mixed martial artist Mikuru Asakura. Omatayo Adebodo has the details.
Under 17 women national team, the Flamingos Bankole Olowokere has expressed optimism that his team will do well at the FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup built to hold from October 11th to 30th in India. Olowokere, who has been in camp in Abuja since August 30th, said the Flamingos have trained to the point of pain and are almost ready to go. Nigeria will play in Group B, which also has Germany, Chile, and New Zealand. The Flamingos are scheduled to camp in Turkey for 1 week, where they are expected to play 1 or 2 friendly matches before jetting to India for the 2022 FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup. Meanwhile, Wilfred Ndidi has been ruled out of the Super Eagles friendly game with the Desert Foxes next Tuesday due to injury. This was reviewed by the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF, on their Twitter handle, though the nature of the injury was not disclosed. Also, the NFF disclosed that Ndidi has left the Eagles camp and returned to England. Recall Ndidi missed the Super Eagles 2022 World Cup qualifiers against the Black Stars of Ghana after suffering injury. His last appearance for the Super Eagles was in January this year in the round of 16 of the 2021 African Cup of Nations against Tunisia. In the meantime, Floyd Mayweather says he wants to fight UFC star Conor McGregor in an exhibition bout next year. Mayweather, who is 45, stopped McGregor in the 10th round of the final fight of his professional career in 2017. Having competed in several exhibitions since retiring, Mayweather says he is in talks to fight McGregor again. Mayweather suggested Allegiant Stadium, home to the NFL's Las Vegas Raiders, as a potential venue for his match with McGregor. The American, who retired from boxing undefeated with a 50-0 record, has appeared in several exhibition fights, including against YouTube star Logan Paul last year. Motayo Adebodun, OSBC News.
And on the foreign scene, Iran has restricted internet access after days of protest and unrest that claimed at least 17 lives following the death of a young woman in the custody of the morality police. Taufikat Abdulhakim has the details of this and more from our foreign desk.
Public anger has fled in Islamic Republic over the death last week of 22-year-old Masha Amini, who had been detained for allegedly wearing a hijab headscarf in an improper way. Activists said the women, whose Kurdish first name is Jinnah, suffered a fatal blow to the head, but claim was denied by officials who announced an investigation. During 6 straight insights of protest, women demonstrators have differently taken off their headscarves and burned them in bonfires or symbolically cut their hair before cheering crowds. Protesters in Tehran were heard chanting "No to the headscarf, yes to freedom and equality" in a rally that has been echoed by solidarity protests abroad. There has been growing international alarm at the Iranian crackdown on the protest, including from United States President Joe Biden in an address to the United Nations, saying that the international body stands with the brave citizens and women of Iran who are demonstrating to secure their basic rights. Meanwhile, Uganda has confirmed 7 cases of Ebola as authorities try to track down 43 contacts of known Ebola patients, 2 days after the East African country announced an outbreak of the contagious disease. The new cases confirmed include a 24-year-old man who died this week after he developed a high fever, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, in addition to vomiting blood after initially being treated for malaria. He was diagnosed as having contracted the Sudan strain of the Ebola virus. However, Ugandan authorities have not yet found the source of the outbreak, the key first case, but they were able to pinpoint the epicenter of the outbreak, which is the central Uganda district of Mbenze, whose main town lies along a highway into the capital, Kampala. However, the Association of Lebanese Banks has announced that Lebanese banks will remain shut indefinitely due to a lack of security protection by authorities. This follows a string of raids by customers demanding access to frozen savings last week. It said their employees faced risk which has not been mitigated. There have been other copycat raids with reports of at least 5 in the recent time. Lebanon is in a severe economic crisis, with more than 80% of the population struggling to afford food and medicine. The raids have mostly drawn support from the general public and have been seen as acts of desperation by people who do not have criminal records and are trying to settle bills. Banks have limited withdrawals of dollars since 2019, when the value of the Lebanese pound plummeted and inflation soared. Taufikat Abdulhakim, OSBC News.
And to end the major report on OSBC TV, here again are the major points. The federal government has rolled out timetable for the celebration of the 62nd independence anniversary of Nigeria. Nigerians have tasked political parties to emphasize more on internal democracy so as to ensure smooth running of their activities. We also told you that Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwa has replaced Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi as chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum. We also told you on the foreign scene that Iran has restricted the internet access following the protests that trailed the death of a woman in the custody of morality police. That ends the major report on OSBC TV. It was edited by Babatunde Bolatito. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Thank you.